project leader of the eLiterature research project. He's the main editor of the European eLiterature collection and the Belgian representative of the European network DDDL. In 2011, Fabio got his PhD from the University of Macerata. Thank you. And the doctoral thesis is the product of his practical and theoretical research about electronic literature carried out with an epistemological, hermeneutical, and pedagogical approach. Fabio.
Thank you so much. Good morning. I know it's late, it's lunchtime. I will try to be short. So, firstly, in this contribute, I will speak about a delicate issue already faced a couple of times this morning. That's to say, the necessity of a process of formalization for electronic literature in Europe. Please pay attention that with formalized eLiterature, I do not mean to constrain eLiterature in an unchangeable structure or to annihilate its creative revolutionary potentialities and features. I mean to offer to the traditional cultural system, that's to say, that cultural system not so familiar with the subject, namely literature, to offer its useful tools to understand properly this literary phenomenon, understanding required to accept it and so to teach it as a normal subject, not as an exception. Actually, I believe that to permit this sort of acceptance of electronic literature, we need to create a kind of canon that, subsequently, will help eLiterature to enter the national curricula in Europe as an important subject to teach, and not just teaching literature in specific field as doctoral or master courses. Secondly, having an electronic pedagogical background, that's to say, e-learning, I will speak about the pedagogical framework and methodologies I believe we need to teach literature. Thirdly, I will speak about a new frontier for electronic literature, that's to say, how to use literature as a didactic technology to support learning activities in didactic contexts. If we have a look at the current state of electronic literature in Europe, we can easily affirm that a growing commitment has been shown by the scientific community in this last decade. Many research groups such as Hermanea, IONCIP, LiterPro, DDDL, among the others, and the related universities have been working actively in the field, helping to spread electronic literature both in academic environments and in not strictly traditional cultural systems. On the other side, we cannot affirm so easily that electronic literature has been accepted by the traditional and official cultural system as an important cultural phenomenon to deal with. Except some specific valuable cases, at the present day, in European museums and libraries, it's pretty unusual to find exhibitions or sections dedicated to electronic literature. Besides, in European schools and universities, it's rather rare to find literature courses, and even more rare to find courses which adopt literature as a pedagogical resource. So, for this reason, I believe we need a kind of process of formalization that makes literature an official literary expression and a subject included in national curricula, so allowing educators to teach literature in traditional contexts and to exploit its pedagogical potentialities. To help this process of formalization, we need to develop some and spread proper tools, proper theoretical tools, mostly logo techno-aesthetical tools, able to analyze, typify, classify, and evaluate digitally literary expressions to help the understanding of the aesthetic of digital literature, understanding required for the development of a common aesthetical taste, which is the condition required to establish a canon, and so create a new notion of literariness, without which it is not possible for electronic literature being officialized and so being included into national curricula and used for pedagogical purposes. So establish a canon is actually the first step to formalize electronic literature and to use it in formal didactic contexts, having the canon an important educational function. Indeed, the canon represents what is considered normatively suitable to be taught in a specific historical period. Belonging to the canon, according to George Landon, has always meant a guarantee of quality. This is the reason why, in educational context, curriculum makers select works belonging to an existing canon. Being the canon, the result of the aesthetic taste of a particular community in a specific time, aesthetic taste that produces the selection of seminal works worthy to be canonized. The practice of selecting works that abide by this common taste and collect them officially is extremely important. To ontologize new literary form means to institutionalize a literary phenomenon, because to be an anthology is to have achieved not greatness, but what is more important, certainly status, according to George Landon again. Besides, being institutionalized also means being recognized by the traditional educational system, and so in turn being worthy to be included into national curricula. This is the way that the European literature collection is following. The ELC aim is to provide an essential tool to system formalize electronic literature in Europe. Let's see some main features of the ELC. Firstly, the focus on the specific European framework. ELC collects only European works with the purpose to characterize the specific European digital literary environment. Secondly, the attention on the linguistic issue. Considering that the linguistic diversity in Europe, all the reviews will be published in major European languages. Thirdly, the attention to the preserve, archive, and dissemination issue. That's to say, all the works will be loaded and stored on the ELC server indefinitely to be freely read. And finally, the user-friendly design. ELC is designed to be easily used by anyone, including those people who have no confidence with the digital literature. So, with a process of formalization in progress as it is, it's not only possible to speak about the modalities to teach electronic literature, but it also makes sense to think about it as a pedagogical resource. In this respect, the main question is, if it is possible to teach with inside new media, is it also possible to teach with inside new media writing, that's to say electronic literature? If we take into account the didactic practices that use new media as a pedagogical resource at the present state, we will see that new media can offer a very useful learning environment. Do we have sound here? Okay, well, no problem. I cannot show well this European project, I will speak about it. European projects as Nation have shown as teaching within inside new social driven can support learning activities thanks to the affordances which are able to reconfigure the process of mediation, the embodiment which takes place inside the digital environment with the building of a new personal digital identity, and well, other features that we do not have the time to speak about. Well, according to the result of these projects, using new media as a learning environment fostered the experiential learning, which seems to meet the learning style of the new generations, according to Owen Strauss, so stimulating the process of knowledge building. So the answer to the previous question is affirmative. Yes, it is possible to teach with and inside electronic literature. For two reasons, mostly for two reasons. Firstly, new media writing is based on new media itself to express its artistic and literary potentialities, sharing with it some common features as the action of remediation, typical of any media, the process of embodiment in a digital environment, the active interaction, the multisensory involvement, and the emotional participation. On the other side, the new media writing has some specific features, both typical of traditional literary forms and of innovative digital literary ones. That's to say, the cognitive support provided by the narrative and the manner that digital literary expression seems to meet the emerging cognitive styles of the new generations, according to Catherine Hales. Let's see some meaningful examples of the pedagogical potentialities of new media writing. Well, among these, for example, one of the first examples was the English 101 by Michael Joyce, designed to teach creative writing using the constructivist hypertext. The Victorian Web by George Landon, designed to teach Victorian literature using stimulate cognitive processes, and using it in a proper pedagogical framework can even support learning processes, improving the intrinsic motivation and the deep learning. There are much more examples of how to use literature as a pedagogical resource, but well, we do not have the time, so I will jump these examples like Lexia to Perplexia that can be used to teach Greek mythology in the context of information technology, and so forth. I will jump these two slides to speak about the data collected with the literature survey about the pedagogical potentialities of electronic literature that have confirmed what just said. At the question, can a literature stimulate effective cognitive processes? Well, the 54% answered sometimes and the 46% answered yes. Please note that nobody answered no. The most common reason for the affirmative answer was about different cognitive stimuli literature provides. That's to say, it demands the user to adopt different capacities together, mixed in an unusual way. It offers enactive, perceptive experiences previously unthinkable, and it merges nervous system in a way previously not possible, fostering new connections between ideas and emotions. It stimulates the decision-making that traditional linear reading processes usually do not provide, fostering a process of deep thinking. And finally, it offers appealing modalities for the knowledge-building process, taking advantage of the artistic and interactive features. At the following question, in educational context, can literature support learning processes? Well, the 38% answered sometimes, the 58% answered yes, and just 4% answered no. Again, the most common reason for the affirmative answers concerned with learning styles. Indeed, literature can stimulate the learning by doing, with new form and playful modalities by fostering multisemic, multimodal, multi-sector intellectual stimulations, providing multiple knowledge configuration, and by offering a creative, dynamic, active interaction. Obviously, to teach literature and to use it as a pedagogical resource demands the proper pedagogical framework. In this respect, if we consider that the digital medium is an important part of the aesthetic of the literature works, and that the medium is typified by the action of remediation between the message and the other seed, and if we consider that the dynamic ergodic interaction between human beings and machines that typify the literature work is a sort of cognitive movement between digital and analogic cognizers, according to Catherine Hales, And if we consider that literature works are often typified by what Italo Calvino used to define a combinatory process, and what Umberto Eco calls openness of a literary work, well, a pedagogical framework based on the concept of movement as the post-constructivism could be very appropriate for the pedagogy of electronic literature. Indeed, according to this innovative approach to the traditional constructivism, the post-constructivism underlines the importance of knowledge process over the knowledge object, sometimes even to the detriment of the knowledge object itself. It shifts the real attention from the knowledge built to the action of building, with less concern with the final knowledge object. And finally, it puts focus on the process, on the motion, on the bridges between knowledge and learner, according to Leschendorf. Obviously, to teach literature and to use it as a pedagogical resource also demands the proper methodological framework. Now, if the main feature of eLiterature are the digital medium used as an aesthetical device, the hybridity of the semiotic system, the ergodicity of the interaction, the modularity, that's difficult, the modularity of its expressions, well, electronic learning methodologies seem a good solution to teach literature and to teach with and inside it. Yeah, it's the last two slides. For instance, narrative learning environments represent a good example of the useful synergy that can be established between literary forms in digital environments and electronic learning methodologies, providing to the former the advantage to have at their disposal a proper platform, that's to say, learning management systems to be taught and learned. To the latter, it gives the possibility to exploit the added value offered by the educational potentialities of the arts. That are these educational potentialities in their ability to provide aesthetical and emotional satisfaction, according to Lewis Mean, in their ability to shock and inspire, to change vision, ideas, and feeling, according to Andrew Stibbs, and in their ability to foster consciousness in the reader through cognitive stimuli and aesthetical effects, according to Astrid Ansley. Well, so, in this framework, I believe that many possibilities can be explored to teach literature, but even to use it as a pedagogical resource supporting learning activities. Oh, thank you very much for the attention.